In a world where leadership is often defined by ego, entitlement, and exclusion, some women dare to lead with power, purpose, and pain.
How do we get the likes of yourself on that level as the president of Liberia one day?
I've had a lot of people that have approached me to do that.
Today on Boss Ladies Diaries, we sit with a woman who has faced a coup, a crisis, and a continent's expectations and didn't flinch. She was the youngest mayor in Liberia.
Was there any point when you were mayor that you felt like quitting?
Was during Ebola. So I had $19 for a population of about 430,000 people.
My goodness.
A wartime survivor, a mother to a city gripped by Ebola epidemic, and a symbol of what it really means to lead as an African woman.
It lets you know that everyone deserves a voice and that you have to be the one that speaks for the voiceless. For women who don't support other women, there is a special place in hell for you.
This is more than an interview. This is a masterclass of courage. Welcome to Leading Through Chaos, what it really means to be a woman in power in Africa, with former Mayor Cyvette Gibson.
So, Cyvette, you've lived both on the continent and in the West. What do you remember in your early years, especially during the exile?
In relation to home, I remember conversations around the coup. And then, of course, growing up in a community that was in the southern hemisphere of the United States, had recently recovered from segregation, that we have many challenges as Africans. I was African, I was dark-skinned, I was skinny, and I lived in the suburbs. So all of my neighbors were white.
Wow.
I didn't have any black neighbors. So imagine me and my white neighbors would actually ride on the school bus into the intercity to go to school because there weren't any schools around our homes.
Lived, yeah.
Yeah. So I remember my siblings, they were taunted all the time because we were African. And that was really a challenge. But I believe that those are the things that builds me to become a better person, resilient, and most especially understanding where I came from.
Right. Looking at where your journey started from, and you talking about being the only black person in that area, your family, what do you think representation, how does it matter in that circumstances?
It lets you know that everyone deserves a voice and that you have to be the one that speaks for the voiceless. And there were many times where they would taunt my siblings and I would have to be the voice. I have to get physically engaged as well. And also after I grew up and I started attending high school, at that time, the war was going on in Liberia. And you had Liberians that were coming from Liberia that were integrating into the American culture, and they didn't have a voice because they didn't know how to communicate with, the kids that we were in high school with, or they had an accent, or they looked different, you know what I mean? And there were times where I had to step in and be the voice of reason for them. And that also translates to what I've done in the past and what I'm currently doing, which is one, being the former mayor of Painesville. It gave me the opportunity to understand the plight of girls, understand the plights of those that were economically disenfranchised, and understand the plights of our people as a whole, considering the challenging state that we've come from, being a post-conflict country. And now that, you're looking at parliament, the fact that we don't have gender equity in our parliament is another challenge. And that's something that we have to drive. Fortunately enough for Liberia, we've had the first female president in Africa. But even with her leadership, we have challenges. And the challenges exist because of cultural practices, because of religion, and because of tradition. And we have to break those barriers.
How do we break that? Because it's a major, it's embedded in our culture.
It is.
Right? We take religion, like I was saying to somebody the other day, like when we're doing our campaign on autism and your child is not speaking at the age of 5, they're still praying instead of getting medical attention.
Yes.
It's like our culture just doesn't allow us to, seek medical attention. We'd rather pray about it rather than, act on it.
Yes. Well, I think it's important that you have that person that's unconventional in your space,
right.
And have the ability to reach out to them, and also having that conversation. I think in our culture, we like to hide things a lot, and we have to be very open. Like you see women are around each other and you start having conversations. You're like, yeah, well, I keep having headaches. And they're like, well, what are the signs? And you realize that your friend has gone through the same
thing.
challenge. Yeah. And then you start, oh my God, you know, that's happening. And then she, all of a sudden she goes in the bag, she gives you some sort of herbal remedy and boom, you're fine.
Yeah.
And having that conversation in things that you find to be challenging or things that are concerning you.
If you were to talk to your younger self, right, do you think you would go into politics? Are you the next female president that I see you as? That, I mean, you've done the mayor, and honestly, I met you a few years ago and we connected straight away.
Yes.
It's like we've become sisters.
Yes.
Right? And you're so supportive when it comes to women.
Yes.
How do we get the likes of yourself on that level as the president of Liberia one day? Is that something that you could say is on the pipeline, that one day you would go for that?
I've had a lot of people that have approached me to do that. It's something that I'm digesting. It's not something that I will say I won't do.
Okay.
It's something that I feel that there's a lot of opportunity there because I believe as women, we move things differently. We lead differently. Our leadership is not for now. We plan also for the future.
Right.
So it's something I definitely am not going to shut down and say, no, I'm not interested in running for the presidency.
Right.
I think even me considering it and talking about it openly gives other girls the opportunity to think about the fact that there isn't a glass ceiling, that you can do anything, you can become anyone. So no, I'm not going to shut that down.
How do you see the continent, Cyvette, and the opportunities?
The continent, especially for women. What we fail to realize is that we are over 54% of the population in any given country.
Yep.
We actually harness the movement, the economic, the traditional, every aspect of our nations. And we have to own it.
It's true.
We can't allow the men to push us in the direction they want us to go in, because when you're born with free will. You have a destiny. Own it and drive it. So when it comes to women on the continent, whatever it is that you're doing, how you're doing it, stand in your own, stand in your right and speak.
Right.
Because there's somebody that's looking at you, some young girl, some child that's looking for you and trying to figure out her direction. And there's a woman, you don't have direction, look to a woman
Right.
that you have confidence in and ask her, can you mentor me?
Right.
And you'll be shocked. She'll be willing and ready to do so.
It's true.
For women who don't support other women, there is a special place in hell for you. There really is.
Oh my goodness.
There really is.
Yeah.
Because if you don't take your friend woman and hold her by the hand and say, let's go.
Yeah.
Let me open this door for you. Let me make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
Then that means you don't have a purpose. Because it's all so temporary. Because when you leave that room, they're going to ensure that another man sits in your seat.
It's true.
So pull a woman in to make sure that you build equity in
Yes.
women in that room. And that is not temporary, but that is permanent.
Yeah, and that's what I
what's
love
important.
about you. At just 38, you were appointed mayor in Liberia. How did you feel?
I was excited because I actually came from the city of Monrovia.
Okay.
So having had the experience in the capital actually prepared me for Painesville. And this was a city that had essentially been, I would say, deserted from the beginning of time. And so getting in there, seeing it at the very, very bottom, literally at ground zero, where people had never received services before, did not even understand the functionality of the city government with the exception of collection of taxes. And we all know how that works when systems are not in place.
Yeah.
There were so many challenges, and I just wanted to get over those challenges. I
Right.
just wanted to deliver to my people. I wanted them to understand what a service-oriented agency was like,
Right.
but from the grassroots perspectives.
Right.
I wanted for them to have full participation and inclusion in everything we were doing, and they did. They were very receptive to it. We were able to establish community engagement, go into the communities, understand what the plight was, what the challenges were for the children, the mothers, the parents, you know, the father, so many things. And I get very passionate when I start talking about local government because it's when you are closest to the people.
Right.
And so they're not far from you. They come to your door, they knock on your door.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back to the presidency. Because for me, local government is what supports the presidency.
Absolutely.
A lot of times in our culture, we have a tendency to ride the car instead of telling the convoy to stop the car.
Right.
I need to talk to the people.
Yeah.
And you get down just in random and you walk into a community and speak to the people. what's happening here?
It's true.
What you say? You just sit,
It's
have
true.
conversation. That is so impactful because those are the people that caused your ascension.
It's true.
You reached there because they believed in your leadership. They believed in your vision. They believed you could positively impact their lives. Why is it now that you can no longer deal
Do
with
that.
them from that local government perspective? Because
True.
you were going door to door before you got there.
It's true.
Go
It's
back to
true.
door to door.
It's true. I saw a video actually with Wadamaya in Grenada, and the prime minister was literally walking outside, and Wadamaya asked him the question like, "Are you not bodyguards? Are you?" He was talking to the people.
Yeah.
And this is what, like you said, this is what we need.
Yes.
Right? There's the same people that got you into the power. So why can you now not communicate with them?
Exactly. But how do you know what the plight is if somebody else is telling you what the challenges are? If somebody comes and says, well, Dentaa Cyvette has this challenge, you're like, but I know Cyvette.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
going to call Cyvette.
Yeah.
You go directly to the source.
Yeah.
Talk to the source. Don't allow people to bring you reports from the source when you have
True.
access to the source.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
It's true.
Make yourself
So do you think
accessible.
do you think that's why a lot of African presidents fail?
Absolutely. Because I think that they forget how they got there.
Right.
They forget about our palaver hut conversations, or they forget about how you can randomly just walk into a community and say, what's happening here? Even, our people, when you're passing by a community and there's some sort of noise there and you're walking to go and get the taxi, you hear the commotion. You're interested.
Yeah,
You walk
do
in,
what
you're
to
like,
see.
what's
What's
happening
happening
here?
here?
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? What's going on? What's the commotion? You as the
Sure.
president, when you should stop and find out what's the commotion in the community. Even if you don't see it, stop by
Right.
to see what's happening here. Are you all happy? Why are we disenchanted? What can I do? Because you're there because you should have short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals.
Yeah.
But it requires inclusion and collaboration.
Right.
You're not leading yourself.
It's true.
You're leading the people.
It's true.
If you're leading yourself, then you're in the wrong position.
A lot of the times they have like the ministers reporting to them or the special advisors reporting to them, but actually once in a while they can go out there in the community and find out for themselves.
Yeah. I think this was one of the beauties of Paul Kagame as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that
Doing
he
the
had-
walks
What?
with the people.
What?
Yeah.
He didn't have reliance on the people that he appointed, even though they had short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. They had deliverables, they had timelines. But the fact is that he'll get out here and ride his bike with his security. He will go into the community
It's true.
and sit down and talk to the people. My people, I'm here.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah.
He's the only president that goes to the UN General Assembly and actually has a tete-a-tete with his people.
Wow.
Can you imagine? He
Yeah.
literally sends invitations to all the Rwandese in the United Nations. Yes.
Wow.
And say, what is happening here and how can we make it better?
Wow.
That's
Amazing.
leadership.
Yeah.
Why is it that we don't do the same? It makes us question a lot of things.
What were some of the biggest misconceptions people had about you when you became mayor?
There were quite a number because my position in Monrovia had me really in the background. I was more of an administrator.
Right.
So a lot of people didn't see me on the camera. And so one of the things that was said when Madam Salif appointed me, they were like, what kind of small girl is this? That Look at the way she's tiny. What is she coming to do here? You know what I mean? This small girl, why have they, oh my God, they brought this small girl here. Why have they brought her here? Yes. And so that was the biggest misconception was that I was some kind of like 20, 21-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Whereas those who knew from Monrovia had seen me, work with the former mayor, Madam Mary T. Bro,
Yeah.
and had seen me deliver with her. And so when I got in there and they saw, they saw my style of work, that I was very much, about inclusion, collaboration, and we doing this together collectively. They were like, in Liberia, we said, but we see that one before. We haven't seen this before, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that, their participation was essential to our success.
Yeah.
This was not Cyvette.
Yeah.
This was the people,
Yeah.
and most especially my team.
Right.
Because I think people forget, even in leadership, you have to have a very strong team, a team that understands your vision,
Right.
and a team that's able to drive us to success. Because if you do not have that team that's able to drive you to success, you need to shut it down and come back and recalibrate and identify people that have those capabilities and drive towards success.
How did you find that team though, Cyvette?
Yeah, a lot of training.
Yeah.
A lot of training, a lot of conversation.
Okay.
And a lot of being clear on what my expectations are. I think when people don't understand what your expectations are, they won't deliver. But most especially, you have to be willing to sit there and deliver with them.
Right.
I'm not giving you a job and saying, I want for you to go and do this, and I don't know how to do it. That's the first
Right.
thing.
Right.
Because
It's
I have
true.
to know how to do your job if I'm asking you to do it.
Right.
Right? And then if I'm asking you to work 12, 14-hour days, I'm willing to work 16, 18-hour days.
Yeah. So that you see.
What?
Yeah.
I have to be dedicated as much as
True.
you, and even more because I'm leading.
Right.
So if you don't see me burning the night oil, what's going to make
You
you burn
burn
it?
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's that level of dedication.
Right.
And your people have to know that you're not corrupt.
Yes.
Because when you're corrupt, they're
You
automatically
could corrupt.
corrupt.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
And when you're hiring people, you ask them, what is it that I can do that makes you happy? Because this job pays, let's just say hypothetically, this job pays $600 a month. Are you happy with 600 US dollars? Oh yeah, happy. Are you sure? Do you need medical? Do
Yes,
you need this? Do
yeah.
you need, what do you need?
Yeah.
Because this is what the government is able to do.
Yeah.
Because if this does not meet your needs, I am telling you that if I find out that you are
You're
doing
trying to-
anything outside of this, I'm going to make sure you are incarcerated.
Sure.
Because we're not here for this.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything I can to make sure that your paycheck comes out every month.
It's true.
But I need for you to deliver to the people that we're working for.
Wow.
And for them to have confidence in you and my leadership. Wow. Because there are times where you'll go out and represent me.
Yes.
And you cannot be anything lesser than myself.
Did you feel like you had to do a lot of team meetings as well with them to align the vision,
Yes.
the mission
Yes.
of where you wanted to go?
Yes. We had to come out with our short-term
Okay.
agenda,
Okay.
our medium-term, and our long-term.
Okay.
And a lot of it also required me transfer of knowledge that had to
Right.
take place. There weren't any computers when I got into the institution. Yeah, so I had to actually bring in computers. I had to teach people how to use software.
it?
Yeah,
Wow.
I had to create systems. I mean, their systems was completely decimated, non-existent.
Wow.
So imagine, Liberia, we have a population of about 73% that are young people.
Yes.
So
that's
you have young people,
huge.
young people
Wow.
that are looking for employment opportunities, that are well educated, but just looking for opportunities where they're able to apply that skill set.
Yeah.
So now, I had to bring in the computers and train the youth on how to use the computers, and people are hungry to learn. In our African culture, we like to say that the young people are lazy, the young people are this, the young people are that. No, the young people are looking for opportunity.
It's true.
They're looking for someone who believes in them. They're looking for a way where they don't have to sit down and have a dependency on someone
yeah.
giving to them.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
That's all they want.
It's true.
They want to have dignity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
they're able to stand on their own. Whereas it's unfortunate, some people in our culture, they like to give the fish instead of teaching them how to fish.
Yeah.
Because it creates a dependency, a reliance in which they have to keep coming back. I don't want you coming back.
I want you to be able to do it on your own.
What?
Yes.
I want to teach you how to fish, and then you teach many other people how to fish.
Yeah.
That's the only way that we grow. That's the only way we develop. That's the only way we get better.
How was your first week? Because I see the energy that you're coming with. So I'm like, that first week as mayor,
It was something.
my goodness.
We had $29 in coffers. When I asked for the accounts balances, the statements, it took us down to $19.
What?
Yeah. So I had $19 for a population of about 430,000 people.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So how were you able to?
Yeah, I had to mobilize. I had to garner a lot of support from our partners. And I'm talking about like autonomous agencies within the country. Of course, a serious conversation with Her Excellency to let her know this is the situation, but this is what I need to start doing because the city was engulfed in waste for many, many years.
My goodness.
And as you all know, when it comes to the African dynamic, our waste is not just greens and plastic. We have fecal matter. We have bodies.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that's in the waste.
Right.
And so for me, it was essentially getting in and concentrating on waste management before I could even start dealing with water and electricity and the fire brigade and the police and and people when they hear about city government, they think it's just waste management. No.
Oh, there's more to that.
There's so many.
Oh my God.
There's so many things that
Yes.
you're, there's so many fires that you're putting out every
Yeah.
day. So it was prioritizing the priorities. How do you
Okay.
prioritize the priorities, especially for a post-conflict country?
It's true.
And
Everything is like top. Everything needs to be done.
Everything. And a city that had never received services before. So our people were very antsy. They were very curious, but they were very receptive.
Okay.
Because they had seen what we did in Monrovia and they were like, my God, we just want
Right.
this. So I had a lot of support. I went out and I garnered a lot of support. I built a lot of relationships. You were one of them.
Yes.
You were one of them. And, and people just flooded in and just supported
Help,
the
yeah.
city. Yeah, just supported us a lot and understood what we were driving towards. And I mean, I'm just really grateful that we were able to achieve our goals during that time.
And did they not see you as this American girl coming in to tell us what to do? Because sometimes you as a diaspora coming in
Yes.
with the American accent, I know you
Yes.
have your African accent as
Yes.
well, but
Yeah.
did they not see you as a diasporan coming in
They
rather
did.
than...
Yes,
a
our
Liber-
people did.
Okay.
They did. And there were certain aspects. So in the Liberian culture, we have our tribes.
Okay.
And I'm from a tribe I'm a descendant of a free slave.
Okay.
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 So
What's the
my
tribe called?
ancestors
What's the
were
tribe?
called Congo.
Okay.
Congo. So we got on the ship and we
Okay.
left, the United States, Barbados, and came to Liberia.
Okay.
And we landed.
Okay.
And when we landed, we used the barter system to acquire land and so on and so forth. And there were some unethical ways in which those things were done. I'm not going to say that they
Yeah.
were good because those were actions that they learned, my ancestors,
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
from their forefathers.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they applied them to acquire land and do other things in the country.
Right.
Unfortunately, the indigents were marginalized and so on for long periods of time. And so in Liberia, they call me Conga, which means that I'm a settler. I'm happy. I embrace it. I am a settler.
Yeah.
Yeah, proud, right? My father is not a settler.
Okay.
My father is an indigent.
Right.
So I'm Pele.
Your Pele.
So my father comes from the hinterlands. Yeah. So I embrace the fact that I'm Pele. So when my people look at me and they hear me talk, they just go, she's Conga.
Congo, yeah.
Yeah, because they're looking at all of my features, as you can see.
Yes.
No, they look at all my features, whereas they don't realize that I'm also Pele.
Yeah.
But I just allow it to be because, unfortunately, in our African setting, our colonial fathers have gone ahead and moved forward with this divide and conquer concept. And we as Africans, we have received it and we hold on to it instead of realizing that there's more that unites us than separates us.
Absolutely.
So yes, that was a challenge, but it wasn't really a challenge to me because I can speak our grassroots colloquia to the extent that people are like, hey, you don't look like you're supposed to be talking like that. Yeah, but I can speak. I can get very, very grassroots.
Wow.
I mean, like very street.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very street. So our people are not used to seeing me speak like that, but it was necessary for me to speak like that when it came to translating all of our different messages.
Okay.
So if I go into a community where, let's just say it's a grassroots market woman, she's not understanding what I'm talking about. Oh, what do you call it? When you use the toilet, you should, what?
No.
When I talk to her, I'll say, when you finish pee-pee.
Yeah.
You understand? I just said to her, when you are finished urinating.
Yeah.
When you finish pee-pee, make sure you get outside.
Yeah.
Put small water inside your hand. Rub it inside
Water.
small.
Okay.
With small soap and water. It's important because you do it. The thing that came from inside you is going to your children and food.
Wow.
Do you understand? I've just told her so many things.
Yes.
But our people, they don't expect for us to speak that way. Yeah. And that's important because that's the only way that our people really connect with you. Now, there are many other things that connect you with our grassroots, but that one communication, as you and I both know, is essential.
Absolutely. Was there any point when you were mayor that you felt like quitting?
What? I would tell you the most challenging time in my career was during Ebola. That was the most challenging. I mean, dealing with the lack of gender parity, finding dead bodies of children, adults. I mean, all of the challenges. Nothing challenged me more than the Ebola pandemic.
Wow.
Because that actually broke us to pieces. And I remember it was so bad that I would literally, you got to the point where you were counting how many steps you took to everywhere. Like I could count how many steps it was for me to the door.
My goodness.
What I used to touch the door, you had to remember everything.
My God.
It was an extremely stressful time because you saw your people dying. You didn't know how to stop this. And the only thing you knew was that we have to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, I'm scared. I don't want to come in contact with anyone, but I have to.
You have to.
Because
yeah.
my job requires me to do this. And now this is the time where I have to really show my people
leadership.
that we are in unison.
Yeah.
We have to stand together. And this is the only way that we're going to beat this virus. If we do not stand together and we don't go from house to house, door to door, there's no way we're going to beat this virus.
So you was going house to house,
What?
door to door?
Door to door.
Wow.
Checking temperatures.
So you became a nurse?
Yeah,
a doctor?
Without the skill set. Without the skill set. Because fortunately enough for the city government, when I got there, I established what they call community leaders.
Okay.
And with the community leaders, we had 38 communities. And then I had to establish block leaders under those community leaders. So I had all of these tentacles that were responsible for a number of houses for us to drive all of our different projects.
Right.
So there was an easy information,
good.
seamless, coming
Wow.
back up to me
Okay.
and me coming back down to the people. Yeah.
Wow.
So we had that established already. And we
So you had a strategy?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Oh my God, yeah. Because local government is everything is strategy.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to. If you're not talking to the people, who are you working for?
Right.
I mean, if it's like how I often hear about. Well, yeah, the government went into this community and they put solar lights up, and then by the time they broke, the solar panels were gone. Well, did they talk to the people? Who did they put the lights there for? Well, they shouldn't move the lights. Did you explain to them the importance of the lights? Did you let them know what the purpose of the lights were? And did you let them know that they need to have ownership to it? This is a conversation.
Yeah.
This is not just me coming in and embedding infrastructure and expecting for you to take care of it, because the people that you're doing it for, they may have financial challenges and don't understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
So they become, an impediment in the system and development. You don't want that. Make them own it, make them drive it.
How did you protect your staff, your city, and your own mental health during that time?
My staff, so we had to embed a lot of protocols when it came to contact, because of course there was a lot of contact tracing.
Yeah.
We were constantly checking temperatures. In the office, when we came in contact with each other, we had clear communication. There was constant communication with each other to make sure that none of us became ill. Unfortunately, a staff member did become ill and died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. And I remember the night he became ill, he went into the ETU and we never saw him again.
Oh my
That was it.
goodness.
Yeah. So it was unfortunate. We did lose one staff member. But when it came to our people, it was, again, using the block leaders and the community leaders to go to every house. So what we essentially did was we collaborated with UNICEF, and UNICEF funded it. And that allowed us to now build capacity in our block leaders and our community leaders, provide them with the essential tools, and to go now from house to house, door to door within their community on a daily basis and do temperature checks.
Okay.
So we knew how many people were living in the house. We would check their temperature, then we jot it down, and then by 10 a.m., it comes back up to me.
Okay.
So I'm able to see
who-
literally
Okay.
where the hotspots were, what was transpiring in those communities. And then also, we would go into the communities and have conversations with the children. Believe it or not, the adults were the issues.
Oh, what?
Yes, the kids. We will go into the community and we'll ask the kids, "Well, what's happening?" They'll tell us, "My auntie came here. She came from out of town." And I told her, I said, "Auntie, there's not time to be visiting. Wow. Nobody visiting their friends now.
My goodness.
You got to go back to where you're coming from. We are not accepting people here." Literally, because the adult, the aunt or the mother or the father would accept the aunt, to
the
come
house,
in because, out of culture and respect. The child is like, "You're not coming to make us sick here. All of us are not coming to die.
Wow.
Yeah, please go back."
That's
and
good.
they will let us know. The community leader or the block leader will let us know if someone else came into that space, because they need to be accounted for from where they're coming from for contact tracing. Yeah.
Do you remember how many people died during the Ebola?
Woo! 4,800. Wow. I remember our biggest loss, let me tell you, was when
One.
we had a community in Painesville, which was a Muslim community. And there was an imam that died. This was very early on. And we had told our people, if anyone died at that time, we had a body team that would go in and that would take the body to bury, because you needed to test the body, make sure the person didn't die of Ebola. And if they did, we had to possess that body because we had a burial space for that body, or we cremate the body. And when this imam died, we were not informed. They bathed the body.
Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine? They bathed the body, and I think because he was, no, I shouldn't say, because he was
an imam, yeah.
Everyone took vials of the water they bathed him with.
Oh my goodness.
That's the rest of the story. So I would say maybe about, because Ebola triggers anywhere from 1 to about 21 days.
Yeah.
By like day 13, 14.
My goodness,
like
so
boom,
many.
Boom, boom, boom. It was so bad that literally the body trucks just sat there.
Oh no.
Yeah. I remember when that happened, and I was like, my God. After that happened, all of the religious houses now started driving the message, because it became real that this.
My goodness.
Yeah. So I remember us being hit that hard. Wow. And there were many days, actually I just wrote a paper a couple of days ago. And the paper was about my experience when it came to Ebola, being in leadership during such a pandemic. Yeah. And I remember there were many days where I would sit on the foot of my bed and just cry, knowing that I accepted the fact that I'm going to die from this virus, and almost mentally having a conversation with my child like, I probably won't see you again. You know what I mean? Because the day I find out, I'm going to get in the ETU and she won't see me. I'll die there. So it had to be a spiritual conversation. It was no joke. Yeah. Accepting death and knowing that you're going to die alone. And that was the first time I ever realized that not only do you die alone, but when you transition, you're transitioning alone.
Alone.
This is it.
How did your daughter feel about that conversation?
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, it is. But you know what it does? It lets her know that when you're ready to pick up a leadership role, that you're dedicated all the way. Yeah. And that you're not just doing this for show, but you're doing it because you really are committed to what you're doing. You believe in what you're doing, and you believe in the people, and you know your people deserve better. So if you're not willing to do it 100%, don't do it at all.
Madam President. I love it. Oh my goodness. Okay. What advice would you give a 22-year-old woman who's on the continent, who wants to be in a leadership role, right? Maybe in politics, leadership, corporate, but they fear judgment and they fear failure?
If you don't fail, that means that you're not succeeding. Because from everything you fail in, there's lessons learned. Yeah. And you pick up those pieces and you continue to build. So that's the beauty to failure. Yeah. Don't look at it as something negative. Right. There are lots of positives in it.
True.
Most importantly, find out what your lessons are and build off them.
Right.
Everybody that you see that's been successful, they have failed over and over and over again. That is how they have mastered their craft. When it comes to being judged, be judged. Be judged. What if they're not talking about you? You're not important. Just understand, you're a woman, you're made of greatness. So they're going to talk about you. When you enter a room, you're automatically, I mean, look at you.
Yeah.
I mean, look at you. You're made of greatness.
Yeah.
They're going to talk about you. But most importantly, believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you're going to be challenged.
Right.
You're going to be challenged. People are going to break you in ways that are unbeknown to you, and you'll walk in the hall of shame.
Yeah.
Find a mentor.
Okay.
That you're actually able to build yourself out of.
Okay.
Someone that is where you want to be,
right?
Not someone that's going to where you want to be. Because that woman has already arrived. She's confident in who she is, and she's going to ensure that she builds you and pulls you along. Find a mentor. Right. That's important.
When we talk about sisterhood and we talk about mentorship, how do you know how to get the right mentorship? And what is sisterhood?
The mentee needs to have a conversation with the mentor.
Right.
And the mentor should ask essential questions. Like, what is it that you see in me that you feel, you would like to reflect? What do you consider to be success? Right. What do you want to become? How do you feel I'm able to guide you and protect you and get you to your destiny? I think that's important. Right. When it comes to sisterhood, to me, sisterhood is huge. I come from a family of 24 brothers and sisters. Out of the 24, I'm the only child from my mother and my father.
My goodness.
Yes. So that tells you when it comes to family, when it comes to siblings, it's important to me because I grew up in a home where, regardless of the fact that that was my brother, my half brother, that doesn't exist in my world. That's my brother. And my mother drove that. So my sisters are my sisters. I'm standing for you. I'm there for you in whatever way, shape, and form I can support you. I believe it's reaching out. I believe it's doing everything that I would expect for you to do for me.
Right.
That is what sisterhood is for me.
But there's a lot of sisters and women out there that are jealous, right?
Yes.
You could have somebody that you aspire to be, right? Or you look up to. You get in the same space as them, but they don't want to support because they're jealous. Maybe they see a different light, right? That you might outshine them. How are we supposed to maneuver that?
Oftentimes, what I feel is the best way to go about doing that, dealing with that, is finding a conduit to that woman that's able to sit down and have a conversation with her and force her
Right.
to mentor that person.
Okay.
And that person becomes the mediator for that relationship. Because you see, when it comes to women, our legacies don't live on if we don't have the right people that we're pulling along with us. When it comes to men, their legacies live on.
It's true.
They ensure that it does. But women, we don't yell, we don't shout at the mountaintop enough about other women. So if that mentor is mentoring you properly, she's going to pull you along and let them know that this is my person. She's going to sit here when I disengage. I'm handing over the baton, and everybody knows that she is standing on the shoulders of that mentor. That is what's important.
Right.
Is handing over the baton.
I think that's key.
Yeah.
And then, we talked a little bit about women going into politics. But a lot of women are scared of going into politics because of what would be said about them. There's always, oh, she sleeps around, or that's how she got into that position. It's always something negative around us when we're trying to go into spaces like that.
Yes.
And how we're supposed to pull through.
Yeah. You have to play a blind eye. Pay no attention to the noise. In Liberia, they say, if you pay attention to the noise in the market, you will not buy anything.
It's true.
Do not pay attention to the noise. They're going to make noise. There has to be propaganda. Right. There has to be. Do you hear them talking about the amount of girlfriends that he has? You don't.
It's true.
By the time the guy gets there, if he's in charge of utilities, he doesn't even care about utilities. As a matter of fact, the whole country should use generator. The current is running at his girlfriend's house. That's all that matters. Not friends.
It's true.
That's what matters. There's going to be propaganda. And you have to understand there's a propaganda machine. For women, when it comes to politics, the only thing I would say about us is that we have to start early.
Okay.
You have to make sure that you're dealing with women that you're confident in.
Right.
Because some of us can be wrongfully aligned because we are scared of our own positioning. We are scared that we'll be displaced by the men. Yeah. But what we need to realize is that we have to build more he for she's. We have to let the men see there's value in us being at the table. Yeah. Not that we're asking because we're coming. But the fact is that you have to understand that there's value. Yeah. Is it that you don't want to see your daughter have a better life? You don't feel that she deserves education? Yeah. You don't feel that she deserves health care? Would you prefer that she dies in the government hospital that you're refusing to fund? Let's have that conversation. Whereas I can be on the floor with you ensuring, lobbying that resources are directed to that hospital. Ensuring that your kids have good education, you're not sending them abroad for school. Right. Is there any reason why our educational system should be marginalized? It's having those core conversations and letting them understand and see the value. And that when we get there, we're not going to, have brown envelopes passing all over the house. No. Because that brown envelope is able to build an alleyway to make sure that emergency vehicles are able to access the disenfranchised communities that are existing with us. Right. Because we're living in a glass house. Right. If you think because your house is made out of glass and the other person's house is made out of plywood or zinc. Yeah.
But I guess us as women have to work 100% more.
Oh, yeah. We do. We have to work harder.
Yeah,
we have to work harder. We have to have more conversation. We have to align more. And that's why it's important that we ensure that women are put into leadership positions. Right. And that if we have he for she's, let him become the champion for women. Right. And there are lots of men that will be willing to do that, but they have to understand the value because our culture, our traditions, and our religion deflects from us having that access.
100%. If history were to remember Cyvette Gibson, in just one sentence, what would that sentence say?
Cyvette Gibson was a mother, a daughter, and a patriot. No.
Cyvette Gibson was a mother. What was the second one you said?
Daughter.
A daughter and a president.
Woo! I love it.
Not a patriot.
Not a patriot. Not a president. Hey, Dentaa, the people are going to be looking for me when I land.
Final message to women watching who feel overwhelmed by the weight of this world.
Frankly speaking, I think that all you can do is sit down and find someone you can talk to, find someone you can look up to, sit down and plan.
Right.
Planning is essential. Life without a plan is a disaster.
Just lastly, which African leaders are you looking at right now that like, yes, this African leader is great?
President Turi.
Okay.
He literally exemplifies what it is when you look at your colonial masters and you say, this is no longer it for us. Yeah. You have compromised generations. You have raped us for so many centuries that now we have to disengage. And I know what my people need, and I'm going to deliver it. Yeah. And to see that his people have so much confidence in him, and not what he's going to deliver, but what he has delivered.
Right.
This again goes back to having the ability to do short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals.
Yeah.
Understanding what God blessed you with as a nation, whether if it's your natural resources, whether it's your soil, whether it's your seedlings, but go in, grab it, and make sure that you develop your nation from it.
Absolutely.
It's important.
It is.
Because that's the only way that you build the next generation, having confidence in leadership that they identify, and not leadership that's been identified by the colonial masters.
Absolutely.
Because they're there for their benefit. Yeah, they're there for their gains. They're not there because they want for you to grow. They are a crutch. Kick the crutch.
Kick the crutch.
What just recently happened with the US and USAID, I am thriving in it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that on the continent, that the struggle is real.
Yeah.
Because from the
We
beginning
have to think
time,
outside the box.
you have to build inward, outward, not outward, inward.
Yeah.
Because you have to be resilient. You have to show that I can stand on my own. We're independent. Show me your independence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I'm coming in, when they're coming in now, they're like, oh my God, okay, well, you have this.
Yeah.
This is what I'm bringing.
Yes.
Would you like it?
Yeah.
Not you need it.
Yeah. True.
Because we're already built.
We are.
So I love this. I love the fact that we're going through this challenge. And after His Excellency leaves leadership, we'll see which country was resilient to build.
It's true.
And, you know, I can say that I remember during COVID, we all had conversations about, well, you know, COVID is here. We're getting our medicines from India. We're having cotton swabs made in China. And this is, so are we doing it now? Are we manufacturing?
It's true.
Our own alcohol, our own masks, our own cottons, our own swabs.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are our lessons learned? This is the time now for us to focus as the continent and build inward, outward.
Building inward, outward. Wow. Thank you so much, Cyvette, for a lovely conversation. I'm sure that my viewers are inspired. They're going to be watching your journey. We're all going to be like watching and supporting you. But thank you for all that you do, especially supporting us women. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're
Dentaa.
welcome.